Of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few hitters I would look to drop this week. The first guy is Alberto Mondesi of the Kansas City Royals. So Mondesi, it's just been an injury-riddled season for him, and it looks like he's not going to come back this year as well. He suffered an oblique injury a few months ago, and now in rehab ball games, he suffered a setback. And who knows if it's hurt again here if he's hurt again here with tightness in that oblique. That's a terrible injury. We know this oblique injuries could take up to a month or two till you're 100%. And obviously, it's a part of your body that you're using your whole body to. If you're a pitcher, to pitch, using your whole body, a batter to swing and to field the ball. So right here, Mondesi, he only had 36 at bats this season, 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, 6 runs scored, a stolen base, a 361 average, and a 378 on base. So no doubt about it, Mondesi, he's a good fantasy baseball talent with his base stealing abilities and run scoring abilities. But right here this season, he's been non-existent, only playing a couple weeks this year. And right now, I wouldn't even wait for him at this point. Like I mentioned, if you got injured players on your team that are coming back sooner than later, and with Mondesi right now there's no timetable for his return, I think he's a player I would drop. And if someone else gets him and he plays well be it. But right now, he's been very frustrating. And he was a 4th or 5th round pick latest in most fantasy drafts. And right now, he's a player I would drop. The next hitter I would drop this week is Jorge Solis of the Atlanta Braves. So Solis, he had a little bit of a reemergence here for the Brave team. But now he's been struggling over the last couple weeks. On the season, 16 home runs, 93 RBIs, 46 runs scored, a 198 average and a 299 on base for the last 2 weeks now. 3 homers, 5 RBIs, 7 runs scored, a 182 average, and a 321 on base. These numbers right here, they're piss poor, no doubt about it, that you're hitting under 200. I know he showed some power this month with 9 home runs, but right now, it's pretty much a home run or nothing, and there's better options on the waiver wire. And it's tough trying to make the playoffs in your fantasy leagues or even win some categories if you're in head-to-head leagues with a guy hitting 182 in the last couple weeks here. So Soler, I don't know if he's even going to be starting that much longer for the Atlanta Braves once they get a few guys back like Eddie Rosario from the injured list here and Adam Duvall in the mix as well. So the last few games for Soler, August 8th versus Washington 0-4, August 10th versus Cincinnati 2-3, August 11th versus Cincinnati 0-3, August 12th versus Cincinnati 1-3 with a run, August 13th at Washington 0-4, August 14th at Washington 0-4, and August 15th at Washington 0-5. So right here, it's been a tough struggle here for Soler. He's won for his last 17 right now, and he's definitely a hitter in a slump, and he's definitely a guy I'm not going to wait on to start hitting again, even though we know he has legit power. But besides that, he's hitting under 200 this season, and he's a player I'm going to drop this week. The next hit is Josh Bell of the Washington Nationals. So Josh Bell, I thought it was a good move in the offseason here for Washington to get him on the roster. And right now, him and Juan Soto, pretty much the only 2 big hitters left on this roster. For Bell, 19 home runs, 62 RBIs, 54 runs scored, a 241 average, and a 305 on base. But the last couple weeks here, he's been total disaster. 2 homers, 7 RBIs, 5 runs scored, a 178 average, and a 269 on base. So right here, a lot of protection gone in the lineup, obviously. The Nationals trading Trey Turner, trading Yan Gomes, trading Josh Harrison off the roster. So right here, a lot of good hitters in that lineup are gone. And right now, there's no protection besides him protecting Juan Soto in this lineup. But now it's easier for pitchers to pitch around these guys. And that's been the case here with Bell. He hasn't really been hitting the ball well in the last 3 weeks here and the last few games for him. August 7th at Atlanta, 1-3 with a run. August 8th at Atlanta, 1-5. 10th at the Mets, 0-5. August 12th at the Mets in a doubleheader, 0-4. August 13th versus Atlanta, 0-3 with an RBI. August 14th versus Atlanta, 1-3 with an RBI. And August 15th versus Atlanta, 1-4 with a run. So right here, that's no production. And right now, I think he's an easy drop. And fantasy owners have dropped him in 2% of fantasy leagues so far this week. The next hit is Jeff McNeil of the New York Mets. So Jeff McNeil, we know he's an aggressive hitter. We know he swings a lot at first pitches and stuff. And we know he's been a good batting average guy in the first 3 seasons of his career. And he also qualifies at second, third, and outfield in fantasy baseball. But this season with an early hamstring injury in May, and now coming back, he just hasn't done much, in my opinion. On the season, 6 home runs, 29 RBIs, 31 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, 260 average, and a 337 on base. But the last couple weeks here for McNeil, he's pretty much been non-existent here for fantasy owners. No home runs, 4 RBIs, 4 runs scored, a 182 average, and a 250 on base. So this New York Met team as a whole is one of the worst hitting teams in all of Major League Baseball. I know Francisco Lindor is hurt. I know Javier Baez is hurt now on the injured list. But let's be real, Francisco Lindor, he wasn't doing much for this team. And guys like Jeff McNeil and Michael Conforto are totally having down years as well here for this roster. So the last few games here for McNeil: August 7th at Philly 0 for 1, August 8th at Philly 0 for 4, August 10th versus Washington 2 for 4 with 2 runs and an RBI, August 12th in a doubleheader versus the Nats 1 for 7, August 13th versus the Dodgers 1 for 3, 2 RBIs, August 14th versus the Dodgers 0 for 4, and August 15th versus the Dodgers 0 for 4 with an RBI. So right now, he's not giving Owners anything, and he's a guy I'm not going to wait on and count on here the rest of the season is Jeff McNeil. So this week, I think he's an easy drop and the 5th and final hitter. I look to drop this week's Abraham Toro of the Seattle Mariners. So right here, Toro, he was a big player for this team over the first few weeks since he got traded from Houston to the Mariners. But right now, he's come back down to earth, this Toro. On the season, 9 home runs, 28 RBIs, 28 runs, 4 stolen bases, a 260 average, and a 345 on base. But the last couple weeks here, the batting average is still good, but he's not giving fantasy owners much of anything else. 1 homer, 4 RBIs, 6 runs scored, a 283 average, a 411 on base here. So Toro, I know he qualifies at second and third, which is pretty good qualifications. Traded one thing, and right now he's just not doing enough to garner a roster spot, in my opinion. And he's been dropped in 4% of fantasy leagues so far in the last couple of days. August 8th at the Yankees 0 for 4 with a run. August 10th versus Texas 0 for 4. August 11th versus Texas 2 for 3. August 12th versus Texas 1 for 4. August 13th versus Toronto 0 for 2. August 14th versus Toronto 1 for 3 with a run and an RBI. And August 15th versus Toronto 1 for 4. So right here, not much of anything. Couple hits scattered here and there for Toro. But right now, I think some of the magic wore off from the trade from him going to Seattle. And I don't think he's a guy that really needs to be on your roster. So that's a few hitters I would look to drop here in Week 19 of the fantasy baseball season.